for years. Because Mark worked really hard, but he dadded even harder. And it's because he cared so daggone much about his family. From that phone caller, we go to, I mean, I don't need to list the accolades. You know, the former longtime sports director at News Channel 5, six-time Emmy Award winner, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Hope Hines is on the line. Hope, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, gentlemen. What a joy it is to hear people talk about Mark with such love and depth. And I'm a little choked up myself, and so we will get through this. Is one of the brightest lights in my life has gone out, and I'm hurting like a lot of other people are. So I don't look. I'm just tickled to death to be here. I hate that it's under these circumstances, but thank you for having me on. Thank you for this tribute to Mark. It is so deserved. Thank you.
Yeah, Hope, thank you. Who was the Mark Howard that you knew?
Oh, how long do we have?
Yeah, I knew that was going to be your response. So I wouldn't dare try to put you in any kind of corner and say, "What about this about Mark?" I want to hear you tell me about Mark Howard.
When Mark Howard first came here back in the 80s out of Evansville, Indiana, he was a young, brash guy on the move in sports, and we loved him when we watched him on videotape, and we hired him, and we brought him in here, and he was the real deal. There's no question about it. He was so excited about life, about sports. He came to work every day in his own toy department of life, and that was the sports department. And he, as I felt the same way. But Mark was just a very special guy from the get-go, a gem. He loved people. He immersed himself into whatever he was covering. You know, there are two. I was just thinking about this a little while ago. There are two things that you seldom ever heard come out of his mouth. One was, "I don't remember." The other one is, "I don't know." He remembered. He had a photographic memory. There's no question about that. I often told him that, and he said, "No. I'll just work hard." I said, "No, Mark. You work hard and you have a photographic memory." He didn't forget anything. He was my go-to guy in everything, and I didn't question. If he told me that Greg Nettles hit 412 one year, I said, "Oh yeah, you're right, Mark. Good. I'll go in there with it." He knew, and I didn't ever question him. And you're right, Mark loved Jack as Mark loved no one else on the face of the earth. He adored that young man, and he would have given up his very life for him. And that's all a father can do. But Mark was a special guy. He came into this world with a special talent. He was the first guy on. I always told Mark when he was at Channel 5, I said, "Mark, if you ever get tired of doing this, you will be fantastic as a talk show host. You can go to New York City, you can go to L.A., you can go to wherever you want to go, and you can work. Because you've got everything it takes. You're edgy, and that's what a good sports talk show needs, is a little edge. You like to look at the underbelly of sports, the underside, the things that are seedy, the things that, nobody else really wants to talk about, but it's become, commonplace now. Everybody's going after everybody about everything. And Mark would be so excited about the college football season coming up right now. He would just be beside himself. He loved it. And so, yeah, I'm just so sad that Mark had to ship out so early. He had some tough things happen to him in his life, but he took them. He took the falls just like he did everything else in life. He never took himself really seriously. He was always a little bit of an underdog, even unto himself. He didn't always appear that way on TV or radio. I know that. But to know Mark, he was kind of an underdog. He didn't think he was as good a big deal as he really was. But that's just a great trait of someone who cares more about other people than they do themselves. So Mark Howard was maybe my best friend. We talked often. I had lunch with him about a month ago. Mark was not in good health. I talked to him about that a lot. He knew that. He was way, 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 way overweight.
Yeah.
And but a man has to do what a man has to do. He fought it and lived with it, and now he's gone. And so we'll miss him. We'll miss his voice. I'll miss his memory, and we'll think about him every day.
So, Hope, when you think about his talent, it's real easy to talk about how talented he was. How were his instincts in terms of a broadcaster and what he covered and
Oh,
how he went about the job?
he was very creative. If you remember watching him on television, he did a lot of very creative things that nobody else was doing. And I made the statement that I don't know how much I ever taught him, but I know how much he taught me. And he was, yeah. And the point about Mark, he was an excellent writer. He was crisp. He was quick. His mind was so quick, and in an ad-lib situation, it would be as if it was scripted. It was that smooth and that good. So Mark's instincts were superb. He could see a story, he could feel a story, he could even smell a story. And, he was just one of the best, no question about it.
So we've had a few people mention, you brought in a New York guy. They were like, why are you bringing in a Yankee to come host sports talk or to host sports and to be an anchor on television? And then they saw him do it, and they were like, oh, that's why. Was he good from day one, Hope?
Yeah, he was good from day one, and we had a lot of tapes. I mean, good gracious, when you open a job up like that across the nation to anybody, we got hundreds of tapes in there. And to sit down, I remember watching. I would bring tapes home, and just that was back in the day of cassettes, and you could put it up on your TV and watch it. And so I did, and boy, I was just going through tape after tape after tape after. I was getting so tired of looking at really a lot of guys who didn't have what we were looking for. And then all of a sudden, that face, he was doing a stand-up out, I think, at a baseball game. And I looked at him and I said, wow, let me watch this guy. And from that videotape, we called Mark in. And then he came back a couple more times after that. We had some other people that were running in there pretty close with him, but he stood out. And I was so glad of that, because when you hire somebody, you want that person to really stand out, not be a close first with somebody else. And after it was all said and done, he was head and shoulders above everybody else. So he hit the ground running. And Mark was a little bit. He was short-tempered sometimes, and I worked with him with that, and that's part of that New York background of his. And he would people would call on the phone. He'd be really, really short with them. I said, Mark, can I try to teach you something here? This is the South. People love to, if they called you and want your time, do them the favor of just being nice and not so quick. Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, that's he was doing a lot of that, and I think I helped him smooth that out somewhat too. And he found out what being a Southerner was all about, and just a couple of years into it, he just loved the South, loved all the people here, and so yeah, he had that other side to him a little bit, but we worked on it, and he got through that as well.
To the listeners and to those that that love you and loved Mark, what's the one thing you would want them to know about Mark Howard and remember about Mark Howard?
Mark was real. When you talked to Mark, you didn't get any BS. You didn't get any opinions that weren't his. And the opinion that he would give you, as he did on the air, were from his heart. Was he wrong sometimes? Absolutely. We all are wrong. But he thought he was right, and that's really the important thing, because an opinion is an opinion. It doesn't have to. If the truth is wrong, that's one thing. An opinion can be wrong, and we all have those. But Mark was very opinionated, as people found out on the radio. But Mark was so sincere in what he was saying at the time. And Mark just loved people. If he met you and he stopped and talked to you, you would be enthralled with him, because he could go, right to the point of whatever it is that you wanted to talk about, and do it in wonderful human fashion. Mark just had a great heart. He had a heart for people. He had a heart for his family. He had a heart for sports. Mark was a special person. I don't know how to express that anymore. He was a special individual, a special human being, and God put him on this planet to do one thing, and boy, did he do it well.
Hope, thank you, brother. I know it's a tough day for you, but we really wanted to hear from you, and I'm just grateful that you've blessed us with a couple of minutes and a couple of stories. I know how much Mark meant to you. I saw the quote in the Tennessean article and the NC5 stuff, and it's just like, my gosh, we need to hear from Hope because Hope can get us a Mark Howard that almost nobody
Uh,
else can.
well, you're very kind, gentlemen. Thank you so much, as I said, for what you're doing. I loved Mark Howard. I know a lot of people loved Mark Howard, and to the thousands and tens of thousands of fans that listen to him on the radio, you'll never hear anyone any better, and you'll never not find anyone who would appreciate you listening to him, and those of you that did listen to him any more than Mark did. He cherished it, I can promise you.
Hope, have a